Welcome to Intro to C Programming. Today we are going to write a program that utilizes C strings and deals a little bit of sorting. So we're going to write a program that prompts the user to determine how many students are in a class. Then we're going to prompt the user to enter the names for each of the students. We're going to sort the names and output the sorted list separated by new line characters. So we're going to get to use some of our C string functions as well as utilizing C strings. So go ahead, open up Visual Studio, and let's create a new project. I'm going to name mine C strings. Make it a Win32 console application. Under Application Settings, create a new empty project. Add a new source file, a .cpp, and I'm going to name it cstrings.cpp. Okay, if we want to do any kind of input or output in our program, we have to include standard io.h, and if we want to use our C string functions, we have to include C string. Note that there's no .h at the end of that one. Okay, so I'm going to create my main function here. Now what I need to do is I need to read a number of student names from the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a limit on this. I need to know how many names I'm going to read. I'm going to need a loop counter also. But I'm going to put a limit on the number of names that I have to be no more than 20 names with no more than 10 characters per name. So there's my names. No more than 20, I'm going to do this the other way around. No more than 10 names with no more than 20 characters per name. Okay, so now we will prompt the user how many students are in the class, and then read that into the num names variable. And now I'm going to be able to iterate that many times and then tell the user, enter the name for student, and then give him a student number. And if I want to make this a little bit nicer so that it prints from 1 instead of from 0, I can do it like that. Now I'm going to use the fgetS function. I want to read this first name into names sub I. I want to have a maximum of 20 characters, and I want to read this from the standard in. So that's going to read my string for me. This is an alternative to using the scanf. This is a better way of doing it because it's going to make it a little bit safer that if they enter more than 20 characters, it's only going to read the first 20 of them into that string for us. Okay, after I do that, I'm going to call a couple functions. First of all, let's print out all of the elements that's in that names array. I know how many there are. And then I'm going to call a sort function because that's what I was supposed to do on my array, was sort them, and then I will print them out again so that we see that our names actually got sorted. So we need to create two functions, a print array function and a sort function. Let's start off with the print array function. So there's my print array function. And all I'm going to do is iterate over all of those elements. I know how many there are because that was the second parameter that I passed in there. And I'm just going to print them all out with a new line character separating them. Now, when I print this out as str sub I, this is going to print out each string individually. Remember that this is a multi-dimensional array. In my two-dimensional array, this is an array of arrays. So what I do is when I print out str sub I as a string, it's going to print out all of the characters that are inside of str sub I. So the entire array, which is inside of str sub I, is going to get printed from this print statement right here. Okay, just to make things a little prettier, I'm going to just put a few dashes there so that we know when that array ends and the next one begins. Okay, the other function I need to write is my sort function. It needs to take my two-dimensional array as a parameter, and then also the number of names that I have. Okay. Now, in here, I'm going to use a bubble sort. So I'm going to need my I and j, and I'm going to need a temp variable. My temp variable has to consist of 20 characters, though, right? It's an array, because that's all of the elements that I have in one of those individual elements of the array. I have 20 characters that we could potentially have. So now I'm just going to iterate over all of the elements. My j goes from I plus 1 up to the total number of elements that I have. And now I need to figure out which one, if one of them is less than the other one. Well, to do that, I have that string comp function, the string compare function. I'm going to compare my first string, str sub I, with my second string, str sub j. If it's greater than 0, that means that I'm going to need to swap. Now, how do I swap? I can't just do this. This would be really nice if I could just do everything with my str sub I and str sub j. But since those are actually arrays, I need to iterate through all of those elements inside of the array. So what I'm going to do is create another variable k and just iterate over all of the elements in the array and swap them all separately. I could probably do this just with an individual character temp, since I'm just dealing with individual characters at this point. So I'll go up and change that. And this is going to be sub I sub k. And now into sub I sub k, I'm going to put str sub j sub k. And then into sub j sub k is going to get temp. And that's going to do it. That should sort for me. So if we want, we can go ahead and test this out. Let's compile it, run it, see if it works. Our build succeeded. There is, how many students do we have? Let's say 3. Uh-oh, we have a little problem there since I'm reading in. So what I need to do here, I need to do one other scanf right here as a %c to get rid of that pesky new line character so it doesn't mess up what I'm doing down below. Because remember that I have a new line character at the end of this integer, and it was trying to read that in my f get s. So if I do this where I get rid of that new line character, that will hopefully fix my problem for me. So let's build this up and try it again, see if that works. There we go. So let's see. Okay, it prints out the first one, Jeff, Anna, Debbie, which is in the exact order that I put it in there, and then the second time it prints out Anna, Debbie, Jeff. So you see that that worked. It printed it out in sorted order for me. So everything's good here. One advancement that you could make here, improvement that you can make here, is that this is probably not going to print out correctly if I have capital letters included there. Because capital letters in the ASCII table come before lowercase letters. So if I did something like this, oops, let me try that again. That wasn't where I was supposed to type that. I was supposed to type a number right there. So if I do a capital letter here, and then I do my lowercase letters, you'll see that Jeff actually comes before Anna and Debbie, because the capital letters in the ASCII table come before the lowercase letters in the ASCII table. If I wanted to fix this, I could just call a function to convert my strings to uppercase or lowercase before I go through the sorting step. So probably another function that just says, convert all of these strings to lowercase or convert them all to uppercase, and then throw them through the sort algorithm. That would probably work. I'll let you all figure out how to do that. I'll post this code on the website, though. If you have any questions, let me know. Good luck.